Hello students, today I am going to give you a lesson about folk media. So, let us see the historical perspective of folk media. Folk media are cultural resources that accumulate indigenous knowledge, experiences, expressions passed on from generation to generation. These modes of communication are as old as man. It is indisputable fact that local or primitive communities had their traditional patterns of communication which were peculiar to their environment and also situations. The desire to exchange message or shared common ideas must have propelled our forefathers to introduce diverse media through which they could express different feelings and also communicate certain situations. But the man's first means of communication were like distinct sounds or calls, and also each call signaled to specific circumstances such as food and danger. These folk modes of communication were long before the advent of modern means of communication. They are in the forms of gestures, drawing of pictures, developed as a secondary method of communication and gradually introduced into languages and pictorial writings. As the traditional societies developed, better methods of communication were invented, like starting with simplest vocal and gestures, signals rooted in their physical structure, and also developed into a whole range of nonverbal means like for conveying messages also. The folk modes include music, dance, drums, oral messages, signals, fire, drawings and other forms of graphic symbols like pictograms. They are survived and are still in use and also relevant to especially rural areas in the era of high information technology also. You can also assert that traditional communication is made up of great variety of socially accepted cultural practices and also the social organizations, patterns of speech and also a product of many fields of endeavor such as music, linguistics, religion, history, sociology, mythology, the performing arts. And the man's earnest desire to express feelings, messages and share ideas motivate him to create various modes of communication through which he could communicate with his fellow being. By and large, those media of communication were developed into coherent languages also by using specific signals, symbols and pictures to represent the messages. Traditional patterns of communication have the same characteristics even though they vary from one community to another community. These characteristics are generally in oral mode, limited audience is necessary and they also create a very good impression. They are very consumer friendly. No specialized training also is required to manage these folk modes of communication, and there is lack of fidelity. They are very cheap. They bind people together and they are non-alienating. This media always being vested with the responsibilities of developing the people for effective participation also. The folk media functions just as the media which is presently today the contemporary media, mainly to inform, educate, entertain, and the only difference is that it is only restricted to one area. Coming to the characteristics and the types of traditional folk media, they are very much indigenous in nature, rural in origin, because they are involving the locally colloquial dialect and also made with the locally available material. They are being transmitted from generation to generation through oral means only. They do not have any source of confirming the authenticity of the folk art, and also they have no grammar. They indicate and integrate the emotional behavior of the practicing sector, that is the rural people of the rural areas or tribal areas. They represent the region, religion, family or group that can be differentiated from the other areas. The area of operation is limited in nature. It becomes a victim to the onslaught of the modern media occasionally also. As long as the contents and the format satisfy the psychological and social needs of the people, they will be carried forward by the people themselves. And it is in mixed form, that is combined with specific language, rhythm, music, style and also form. So, since they are indigenous in nature, they are also cheap, easy, convincing comparatively than the modern media. Coming to the different types of traditional folk media, first and foremost we should talk about is puppetry. Puppetry is the important traditional media of communication technology in the villages. It is believed to be the oldest form of popular theatre in India, and there is a sutradhar and also there is a director or the stage manager who will be taking care about all the characters, and this is originated from ancient India, that is around 100 to 1000 AD. In ancient India, especially in South India, the puppeteers were being respected as intellectuals, and they were usually patronized by kings and wealthy families, and they enjoyed immense prestige in sponsoring all these puppet shows. And the art of puppetry was popular both as pure entertainment and also as an educational medium, and it is also very inexpensive because it is indigenous in nature. The crudely made puppets will be played with the lively sense of drama and also can hold the audience also very tightly to their chairs. You can impart lessons on various developmental aspects which will be really possible to incorporate into the stories of the puppets. There are many types of puppets, but primarily there are string puppets which are originated in Rajasthan, and glow puppets, their sources throughout the world, and the rod puppets, they are originated in Orissa and Tamil Nadu. Shadow puppets are from Kerala and Orissa. Drama. Drama is nothing but the theatrical performance around a theme, and some people they rehearse it, and also they will be providing entertainment, education and give some message to the folks who are just seeing it. Okay. The effectiveness of folk media or the folk drama varies from message to message. It can be a one act play where it depicts the village life, its problems and gives some solutions. They can be written and prepared with simple themes also. I will just give you some examples of different types of folk theatre forms. The first and foremost one is tamasha. This is originated from Maharashtra, and there will be 6 to 8 male singers who will be supported with different tabla artists and also music performers. So, altogether they are called as song troupes, and the most important aspect is performance. The story part is the next element, and this story will be in the form of an agricultural dialogue or a song or a dance based on the stories derived from myths and also folklore. And next one is Nautanki. This is originated from Punjab, and this is very popular folk art form, and this is dramatic in nature, comprising with small units led by the Sutradhara or Ranga, who is none but the narrator. The music is of prime importance in this folk drama, and many musical instruments are also used like kettle drum or dholak, and just like in the opera, the dialogues are sung to the popular folk melodies. Next one comes the Kirtana or Harikatha. This is a religious folk theatre where it is concentrated drama or a monodrama, I should say, and this will be carried out by a gifted actor, and there will be a whole series of characters which will be narrated by this person. The next form of stage theatre or the theatrical form is street plays. Here one narrates a story which is related to a particular theme, and these plays are not like theatre, but they attract a large number of people basically upon the streets. They also have some music built in by the way of folk songs adapted to the theme. The only material used in this form is a number of banners on which the slogans are written, and there is no costume, no properties or no scripts in this play. It is also called as nukkad play. And another folk art form is folk music. Music is passed on from races of people from generation to generation, and any music composed are on idioms, and that becomes the folk song. The villagers have a great fascination for their folk songs. We go closer to them if we participate with them and organize such functions during exhibitions, meetings, film shows, drama, etc. And also song competitions can also be arranged during these festivals. And under the music, besides the folk songs, we can also have some folk dances also, and these folk dances will be conducted specially during the harvest seasons and festivals also. In villages, they are helpful in collecting the people at one place to convey some information or message. I can give you some examples like Bhangra or Lambadi dance during the harvest festivals, and this reveal not only the individual talents of the people, but also the collective traditions of the particular area where it is being displayed. Folk dances are mainly grouped under three heads. First one is community folk dances, where in religious festivals, social occasions, Kisan Melas and other occasions will make use of these types of dances. Another one is preserved by hereditary or professional families, groups just like Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam. This can be performed during the time of birth or betrothals or marriage ceremonies. And another type is tribal dances. These are rooted as they are expressive of their magical philosophies of life, that is something connected to rituals. So, this is about dance, and coming to the next type of folk art form is storytelling. This is the most popular form of folk art, which is really helpful in conveying the knowledge of the forefathers to the next generation and then next generation onwards. So, the storytelling is one of the best and most commonly used method of instruction in informal education also. It is also useful in giving instruction about religious propagation, rural development, and also something connected to etiquettes, where they convey about the habits and how to behave in the society. All these things will be developed through storytelling. Another form of conveying the education to the audience is riddles. This communication is by the elders, that is being passed on from generation to generation, where they will be having different types of puzzles or question and answers formats, and also they will be conveying the proper practices of crop cultivation, homemaking, etc. I will just give you some riddles as an example, and you will be in a position to understand what they are. A creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon and 3 legs in the evening. What is it? It is nothing but a man. He crawls on all 4 legs as a baby, walks on 2 feet as an adult, walks with a cane as an old man. What kind of room has no doors or windows? That is nothing but a mushroom, isn't it? So, you will have to try to understand what the question is and then try to imagine what the answer is through these riddles, and you get the information you can never forget in your future. So, that is how the message is being conveyed through the riddles. Next type is proverbs. These are also some type of communication through which the knowledge and the wisdom of the forefathers is conveyed to their next generations. They are very creative in nature, and the importance of information and idea also will be giving, almost like giving a meaning of the real message. Here are some examples for proverbs also. Blood is thicker than water. So, this is a proverb which mentions about the family relationship, which is more stronger than the other types of relationships in the society. Another proverb is, if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall. So, if a person is lacking in some expertise, leads others, naturally he will lead them into failure. That is what is the meaning of it. So, the knowledge is concisely mentioned in these proverbs, so that they will be never forgotten and they will be memorized by the next generations and conveyed to their children also. Next type of folk art form is bioscope. This is also a popular folk medium used for entertainment and for propagation of information on various developmental aspects and social messages. It contains quite number of folding doors, each like a panel hinged on one side with another panel with colorful figures and mythological episodes and incarnation of gods and goddesses painted and filed as pictures with the narration of the story by the storyteller. There is another type of folk art form which gives announcements, also called as munadis. This medium is very old, and you keep on seeing this in the villages, where in the village squares a drum is beaten and the attention of the audience is being arrested, and finally, the message is delivered. Coming to the next type of folk art form, this is wall paintings. This medium is possibly evolved from very age old practice of drawing and writing on walls. We can see this especially in tribal areas, and they are very silent in nature, unlike the other types of traditional folk forms. You do not make use of any words, or they make themselves meaningless also, but they are non-literate in the majority. So, it has some amount of local touch also, that is why it preserves that culture of yesterday generations. The advantages of folk media are, first thing is personal contact. Like the appeal of folk media is quite personal, and it is at the intimate level of any person of the rural areas, and it gives a very direct influence on the local people. And next one is the language familiarity. In case of the colloquial dialects, they are very familiar, and the format also, it will be in the local way of conveying the messages, and the content also will be designed in such a way that it very good clarity in communication. And it is easy for building rapport also, and in different forms the local needs of people are being exploited to cater immediate and direct rapport. It is highly flexible, and any new theme also can be accommodated in these folk art forms. There is a combination of dialogue, dance, song, humor, morals, and also prayer, which will be conveying the message to the rural folk. And the impact level is very deep, and it invites the audience participation also. It is combined with entertainment, so the moral instruction is also being combined with the entertainment. It involves self explanation and also expression being very dramatic, lyrical, and that is why the innate need or the self of any person will also be addressed very easily. And the tradition and culture of the ancestors are preserved and disseminated by the folk media in a very lively manner. You can also have a look at the limitations and threats of the traditional folk media. The radio, television, videos, all these are posing a great threat upon the traditional folk media, and that is why the focus of attention of the planners is more upon the modern media than the folk media. But the scale of reach to masses is very less in case of folk media. That is why the modern media are surpassing the folk media, and due to the various technologies like the CDs, DVDs and also videos, which can store the information or the communication, and again they can be communicated to the mass whenever they want. Traditional folk media are considered as outdated and irrelevant also by the present generation. That is why it is becoming an unorganized sector, and that is why they are not at all listening and viewing these folk art forms. And that is why good artists who are very good in these folk art forms are also discouraged, and they are going back and resorting to modern media only. So, there is very less range of choice of these forms also, and because of that it is really difficult to decide which should be selected and which should be deleted. These folk art forms can be made use in the form of social communication, where you can communicate the speech by giving some face to face manner type of folk art forms, just like Harikatha, etc. The puppet theatre is fully integrated with the rituals and struggles, just like the popular India struggle for freedom. And another aspect we can make use of is in development communication. The development planners in the third world, they are always using mostly the folk media for conveying about the development programs that are being generated by the government. So, in India, peasants, agriculture workers, women, tribals, bonded laborers and other oppressed groups are rediscovering the potential of traditional art forms, and they are combining with media as a weapon on their struggle for land, water, forest, better working and having better living conditions, and also for the sake of human rights also. Another aspect is as a task of communication expert. Here you can learn manipulating the folk media to achieve maximum impact through symbols, and as a system with which the rural community is already familiar. What happens is, once that level of understanding has been achieved, the villagers themselves will participate in devising the most effective medium from a wide range of folk media. In that way, when they come to modernize or nationalize the message for purposes of dissemination nationwide, they will concentrate on using symbols and images that make no sense to the folk in the villages. Local trees, animals, landscapes and weather will begin to play a major part in the way of messages that are echoed and delivered also. As a method of efficient communication, there are multimedia approaches, package plan, utilizing rural structures and village functionaries, and also we should use them for objective evaluation of strategy also. For an enhanced communication, the support of mass media channels would be 100% necessary. So, coming to the first one, multimedia approach, the glamour of the field covers different aspects of message and interacts with different sections of people simultaneously. So, together with folk media, documentary films, printed material, phased broadcasts and telecasts mutually support each other in the cause of effective motivational communication strategy. The benefits of multiple for each medium makes up for the deficiency of the other one also, and all together make the communication proficient and productive. The second suggestion is the package plan. Here an integrated time bound work program can be designed, which eliminates the time lags between the communication, extension and service also. The third suggestion is you have to utilize the rural structures and the village functionaries. So, motivation for action could be energized by the change agents only. These are none but the village functionaries and the extension agents. So, these are interpersonal communicators also. The very advantageous to look for such change agents in the rural situation itself is necessary to identify the motivators in the village teachers, priests, elders also. For example, the village postman is a potential change agent when motivated and harnessed for development. The service of the traditional folk artists will also be advantageous, and this will draw good result with the village based functionaries. And the fourth aspect is an objective evaluation of strategy. It is very useful to collect the information from local observers, experienced informants and the artists themselves. The feedback received helps us to see whether there is any need for change, and also general assessment will not make any difference. Therefore, folk media can efficiently be used even in the modern world. If we use folk media in the coming days, it will take more importance and be used by more number of people in the forthcoming days. Any doubts?
Ma'am, in this modern media age, is it necessary to use folk media?
Yes, definitely. Why? Because the folk media satisfies the innate need of any rural person, and also it has lots of self expression in it. And besides this, the 75% of the rural population reside in rural areas, and this folk art forms, they have no grammar, they have those colloquial dialects, and simultaneously the language is very familiar to those people, and it becomes make them more near to the people of rural areas. So, naturally what happens is, with a very good appeal, the traditional folk art forms can be conveyed in a better effective way to create a great impression. So, if we have any type of communication that is left through the modern media is nothing but folk art forms. So, through the folk art forms we can combine all the social problems, giving messages about the developmental activities and also governmental policies, which will be having a very great impact upon the rural masses. Any questions?
Ma'am, is it possible to combine modern media with folk media?
Certainly. Why? Because the formats of radio or television programs or any other video are more or less similar as the format of traditional folk media. It is only the difference in language and the different elements that are present, like talking to them and being lively, are same in the modern media also. That is why we can just combine both the media and give a very effective message or communication to the rural masses and other people also. So, with this we end the lesson of folk media. Thank you.